Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with item A2, open session. Item A2.1, comments on closed session agenda items. Any person wishing to speak on any item on the closed session agenda will be granted 3 minutes. Item A3, closed session. As provided by law, the following are the items for discussion and consideration in the closed session. Item A3.1, public employee employment discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment of employees, Government Code Section 54957. A3.2, student expulsion, reinstatement, expulsion enrollments. Item A3.3, conference with labor negotiators, agency designated representatives, Dr. Cuauhtemoc Avila, Superintendent, Dr. Ria MacGyver-Gibbs, Lead Personnel Agent, and Rhonda Kramer, Lead Personnel Agent, both from Personnel Services. Employee organizations, California School Employees Association, Chapter 203, CSEA, Rialto Education Association, REA, and Communication Workers of America, CWA. Item A3.4, review of liability claim number 21-22-08, and item A3.5, review of liability claim number 212210. And then item A3.6, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 and/or D3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, number of potential claims 1. Do we have a motion and a second? Second. Do we have any comments on closed session agenda items?
We do not.
All right, then time is 6:04. Okay. Do we have a motion and a second to adjourn closed session?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Time is 7:04 and open session is reconvened. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. O'Callaghan, would you do us the honor?
Sure. Everybody put your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we go to item A7, report out of closed session.
We do not have any.
All right. And we go to item A8, adoption of agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Do you have any pulls, Dr. Avila?
No, sir.
Everybody else good?
When we get to section E, I do have something. It doesn't have to be pulled. I checked with CSEA. It's been verified already.
Okay.
That was E34.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that takes us to item B, presentations, and we'll start with item B1, Middle School District Student Advisory Committee, DSAC. Our student board member, Mr. Hunter, is not with us tonight, but our vice president, Ms. Stephanie Lewis, will help us with the presentations.
Okay, so this is my favorite part, hearing actually from the students. And if I mispronounce your name, please state it clearly in the microphone. I'm being tutored by President Montez. So, Kolb Middle School, we have Olivia Archia. Oh, close, all right, thank you.
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good evening, Honorable Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Avila, and viewing audience. My name is Olivia Arachiga, and I am the proud ASU President of the Mighty Kolb Cougars, and this is Vice President Abraham Martinez. So, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but our lovely students are in their beautiful blazers, and I just wanted to give a quick little announcement that I am so proud to be a part of DSAC and so proud to have worked on these gorgeous blazers. And I couldn't be more proud to be here and have this experience with you all. So I'm gonna put it on and feel really cool for a second. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
You all
let's-
look dashing.
Thank you. Okay, to start off, Kolb teachers and students have been really busy preparing for CASP testing. Thanks to our school leadership team, classes focused on the term Illustrate in March to help our Cougars build their literacy fluency. Kolb is also proud of our students after our first honor roll assembly of the school year, where about 60% of our students got an award. Great job, Cougars. In addition, Kolb is celebrating March Women's History Month. We're including theme facts and quotes in our morning announcements, decorating bulletin boards, and interviewing teachers and staff members to hear about their experiences as women. Plus, Kolb is thrilled about the upcoming Cultural Theme Month for April to celebrate our diverse population. To conclude, ASB is eagerly planning school dances for April and May. ASB is also working extremely hard to reward its students and all of their dedicated work. It's been a busy third quarter at Kolb, and we are so very honored to have the opportunity to share here with you all again, and I am so proud to be a part of DSAC and have these absolutely gorgeous jackets. Kolb Cougars, loud and proud, thank you.
Jump right into the things.
for the presentations. Oh, yeah. Is Frisbee here? Yeah. Everybody except Frisbee.
From JQ Middle School, we have Tiffany Alvarez.
Good evening, President Montez, Honorable Board, Superintendent Dr. Avila, and viewing audience. I'm Tiffany Alvarez from JQ Middle School. Spring has sprung at JQ. We are busy as bees acquiring all last-minute knowledge before the state test. We took our English I-Ready test today and we'll take our Math I-Ready test next Wednesday so we can tackle those concepts we struggle with. 150 students are off with Miss Dean and several other fabulous JQ chaperones Saturday to Knott's Berry Farm to ride the coasters. If you're a true Silver Bullet or Ghost Rider fan, show up to JQ Saturday morning and maybe Miss Dean will sneak you in on the bus. Otherwise, all tickets sold out in rapid fashion and our Jaguars are excited to head over to Knott's. We need to give some shout outs to our cheer team who won the first place in several categories at their competition in Azusa at the beginning of March. They took first place in their division and for sportsmanship. Congrats, ladies. They are hoping to be just as successful in their upcoming competition in Irvine. Good luck, ladies. Another set of hugs and shout-outs to our boys and girls basketball teams and their coaches, Oxley, Torres, and Dalton, because they were victorious in the 2022 District Basketball Championship games that took place in February. Great job, Jaguars. We have a royalty dance coming up in April where we will crown our king and queen for the 2021 through 2022 school year. Feel free to stop by JQ April 14th between 3:30 and 5:30 to see the coronation. That will be followed on Thursday, April 21st by the 5th grade Blast Off to Middle School dance where our incoming Jaguars will dance the afternoon away in true Jaguar fashion. We will also be hosting our incoming 5th graders for our campus orientation tour soon as well, led by our wonderful counselors, ASB, web class, cheerleaders, and BAM leaders. We can't wait to see everyone. On April 8th, we will be having a Color Explosion pep rally for our soccer and wrestling teams in the quad. If you want to see some school spirit in effect, come on over to JQ. We have games and music, and it's a huge celebration of our athletes with our amazing cheer team leading the festivities along with ASB. Stop by JQ for all spring sports games that start at 2:15. We wish all the middle school athletes at Frisbee, Cusera, Kolb, and Rialto Middle good luck in the season. April 22nd, our 6th graders will compete in the annual 6th grade Knowledge Bowl competition. We can't wait to see who will be the winning class this year. May the best class win. Stay tuned for the winner to be announced. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have a nice evening.
From Rialto Middle, we have Margaret Valencia.
Good evening, Honorable Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Avila, and the viewing audience. I'm Margaret Valencia, and I'm the proud ASB President of Rialto Middle School. I hope that you're all doing well this evening. The proud Tigers at RMS are currently celebrating Women's History Month. Our ASB leaders start every day off with an announcement highlighting the contributions of women throughout the world. We have inspirational quotes authored by women on our windows to inspire our students and encourage them to be winners. VSU has been working hard to end this month with the blast. They're currently hosting a viewing of Selena during lunch every day this week. Our amazing BSU and the web crew have dedicated the last week of March to celebrate women and gender equality with the Spirit Week. You're invited to join us during lunch for a two-piece standing for tobacco use prevention education scavenger hunt lunch event tomorrow. Join us on a quest for knowledge, play some games, and enjoy music. ASB is planning our Spring Paradise dance for next month, so get your dancing shoes on and get ready to party. Last but not least, ASB would like to recognize our amazing teachers and staff for helping us pave our way to our future. Teachers have made a big impact in our lives, and sometimes it's just not enough to think it. Sometimes you have to say it. So RMS teachers and staff, you are the best. RMS Tigers, we are talented people who don't stop trying no matter what. This is the year of the tiger. This is our time to roar. Thank you.
And last but not least, from Cusera Middle School, we have Ashley Lovino.
Good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Avila, and the viewing audience. I'm Ashley Viano, ASB President at Casera Middle School. I can proudly announce that we are assembling our very own girls and boys soccer team. Students from all grade levels are allowed to participate in tryouts. This week, students have also begun their iReady testing for both math and English, which high schools will use for the 8th graders' placement in high school classes. In ASB, we have been planning the 8th grade dance for the month of May as one of their final memories of middle school. Excitingly enough, our 8th graders will also be going to Knott's Berry Farm. We are working hard to ensure that the end of the year is a true celebration for our 8th graders. We will push forward to finish the 4th quarter strong. This year is close to wrapping up, but we hope to put everything into our final events. Thank you and good night, everyone.
Thank you. Next, we go to item B2 under presentations, project labor agreement. Presentation on the project labor agreement by Attorney Thomas W. Kovacic. Kovacic.
Are we ready? Good evening, Board President Montez, board members, and Superintendent Avila. My name is Tom Kovacic. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Atkinson, Andelson, Lawyer, Root, and Romo. We provide legal services to the district, but my expertise is in construction labor law, including negotiating project labor agreements. I've negotiated most of the project labor agreements in Southern California for school districts. There is approximately 40 project labor agreements over the last 20 years with school districts. They work primarily with larger school districts, LA USD, San Diego Unified School District, Los Angeles Community College District, have PLAs that have been successful. Now, the presentation I'm going to give is a neutral presentation in the sense that I'm not going to take a position one way or the other as to whether or not the board should decide on a project labor agreement, but I will go through the different factors and also the arguments in favor and opposed. So the first question will be, what is a project labor agreement? Otherwise known as a community benefits agreement, because what we try to do is negotiate local hire provisions in the agreement. Then what are the statutory requirements of PLAs? Then the arguments in favor of PLAs and the arguments against PLAs. Now, the legislature has defined a PLA as a collective bargaining agreement. So in effect, the board would negotiate a collective bargaining agreement with the local building trades unions. They would determine what projects would be covered. Would it be entire bond projects? Would it be projects over $2 to $3 million? It's been my experience, PLAs do not work unless the projects are relatively large, at least $2 million. So all of those terms are negotiated as part of collective bargaining. It's a little bit different because it's not negotiating on behalf of your employees. Now, the statutory requirements are pretty straightforward. First one is the agreement must prohibit discrimination based on race, national origin, religion, sex, sexual orientation, political affiliation, or membership in a labor organization, or hiring and dispatching workers to the project. That's pretty straightforward. B is important. The PLA must permit all qualified contractors, be they union or non-union, to bid on the project. The only requirement is that they will agree to the terms of the project labor agreement for that particular project. C, you have an agreed upon protocol concerning drug testing for workers who will be employed on the project. D, the agreement contains guarantees against work stoppages, strikes, lockouts, and similar disruptions of the project. That's important. And then E, the agreement must provide for disputes, that disputes arising from the agreement shall be resolved by a neutral arbitrator. In other words, we don't have these protracted disputes. They're resolved quickly. The project moves on. Now, arguments in favor. So PLAs, or project labor agreement, community benefits agreements, allow for mechanisms to establish local hire goals. The question is, can these goals be achieved through other mechanisms? Now, local hire goals are goals. They're not quotas. You cannot mandate it, but you can establish goals. Typically, you would like to see 30% of the workers or 30% of the man-hours on a project be employed by workers from your area, whatever footprint you decide. City of Rialto, San Bernardino County, Inland Empire. I asked staff to take a look at one of your recent projects. It was a cafeteria at the Continuation High School. And they determined that 63% of the man-hours were worked by employees of San Bernardino, or residents of San Bernardino County. And 83% of the hours were worked by residents of the Inland Empire. So you're doing pretty well already. Can you do better? Yes. You can either do it through a PLA or put some good faith efforts in your contracts that contractors will reach out to local contractors as subcontractors, or they'll reach out to local residents as potential employees. Another argument is that the projects are brought in on time and on budget because the labor costs are guaranteed for the life of the project, and the union will provide qualified, skilled workers. I have no argument with that statement. They also require that only union apprenticeship programs are allowed. Now, that's good and it's bad. It's good in the sense that if they open up their apprenticeship programs to your local high school students for pre-apprenticeship training so that they have access to the apprenticeship programs, I think it's a terrific idea. The downside to it is it eliminates non-union apprenticeship programs, which is going to eliminate some of your non-union contractors who will not participate because they cannot utilize their apprentices. The arguments against. The main argument is it's going to cost you more money. Excuse me,
Would you
more
like
money.
something to drink? Could we?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine?
Thank you. So the main argument is the PLA is going to cost more money. And there's a number of studies, and I'm not going to get into the various studies because each side has their own study that shows they either save money or they cost money. But I think the most comprehensive study that's been done from K through 12 schools reflects that there is a 13 to 15% increase in costs with a PLA. Over and above those costs are the cost of a PLA coordinator, and that will easily exceed $100,000 a year. So you've got those fixed costs in administering the particular PLA. The second argument is it will result in a smaller bidders pool. And what do I mean by that? Most of your contractors out in the Inland Empire are non-union. And they're intimidated by a PLA because they have never had to deal with a union before. So at least initially, it's been my experience, your bidder pool is going to shrink. And the smaller the bidder pool, the higher the price. So until people become accustomed to the PLA, they're going to be reluctant to bid on your projects, at least initially. The other argument is the projects already require prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements. So what additional benefit is there to a PLA if the state regulates the wages anyway? Now, you'll hear two arguments by non-union contractors. The one is the double payment of benefits. And this is a reason why a lot of non-union contractors will not bid a project that is subject to a PLA. And what that means is, once they work on a PLA project, they must submit fringe benefit contributions to union, pension, medical plans, vacation, etc. But it takes time to become eligible. It'll take typically a quarter before a worker becomes eligible for those benefits. So the employer is required, or typically will maintain the company benefits so that the employee is not without benefits during that quarter. So in effect, they're paying what they consider double benefits. The second argument is that the non-union contractor will take the position that I cannot do this work without my core workers, my key workers. And what the PLAs typically provide is the first worker on the job is the company's key man. The second one is from the union. Third one is the company. And it goes up to 5 company people. After that, everybody has to be dispatched from the union. So if you're a small electrical contractor and you've got 10 employees, you in effect could only employ 5 on a PLA project. So their feeling is that they're not comfortable working with strangers. So again, this is one of the reasons why they are reluctant to bid on PLA projects. So, any questions?
Are we turning the lights on? Is there more, or we're?
No, that's
are we
it.
turning the lights on? Only because I cannot see.
I did have a question in the respect of, it seems like both union and non-union would have access to apprenticeships. What is typically the wording, or is it appropriate under this to ask to see their last year of projects? Meaning, have they had Inland Empire workers used on their last year of business, ensuring that there is an apprenticeship that is active for the last year?
That would be certainly something you could ask. You could ask, for example, how many residents of Rialto are participating in your apprenticeship program? How many residents of San Bernardino County, or whatever footprint you would like to describe? And that information could be provided. Now remember, there's 25 plus trades, each of whom have their own apprenticeship program. So it would depend on the particular craft. But my feeling has always been, if you're going to enter into a PLA, then the unions must be held accountable to not only enforcing the local hire and doing the best they can, but also opening up not only the union, but their apprenticeship programs to local residents. And the intent is that by doing that, you're going to encourage local contractors to bid the work with their own employees. They're not going to be traveling to Los Angeles, they'll be working here.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully.
Does anybody else? Oh, so I had 2 questions. One, was I'm gonna start at the end, because that was the one that I made, the most recent. So you talked about, on the core workers may be employed, and then up to maximum of the 5, employees. Otherwise, they'd have to bid, after the 5 company employees, this is from a non-union company,
Non-union
correct?
company only.
This is a non-union company. So for a non-union company, they have up to a maximum of 5 employees from their company, then everyone else would have to be, be in a union.
It's 1-to-1.
Oh,
First
for
one,
every
bid-
employee that's from the company after the 5, there
No.
must be a union involved.
Up to the 5. So the first one's the company, second one's the union, third one's the company, fourth one's the union, up to 5 companies. So that would be a total of 10 employees.
Oh, okay.
After that, all must be from the
Everybody
union.
after that. Okay. So that was my first question. And the other question was, just when you talked about, this was towards the beginning on, looks like slide 6, talking about, when we looked at our own, that particular project on the cafeteria, that we did have roughly 65% of folks who were, you used the word, that the hours worked were by local workers was 65%.
63%.
63%. That's for the workers. What about the contractors in the sense of the company itself? Because the workers, they're at the bottom of the food chain. We're talking about how do we make sure that that companies who are here have an opportunity to bid, did you find that the companies were actually Inland Empire or San Bernardino County, or even better yet, Rialto?
I don't know if we looked at that. My assumption would be that they would be Inland Empire companies because of the number of employees that lived within the Inland Empire.
But that's just, that's not, we don't know that.
We don't know that.
Okay.
But that's always something you want to look into.
Okay.
How successful are you already, and how can you improve that type of outreach?
Okay. And then my last question was just that you talked about the local hire goals, right? So there can be local, other labor goals that you want to have without having a PLA, right?
Correct.
And so how would we go about doing that, and what kind of information do we utilize, or, to inform that?
Well, you cannot mandate it, but you could establish a good faith effort.
Mhm.
We would like you to reach out to different organizations within your community and to establish that you've done something to try and recruit subcontractors that are businesses in whatever footprint you elect, and perhaps have job fairs, things of that nature, to educate the local community about these particular jobs. So in effect, it's a good faith effort is what you're asking for.
Mhm. For the goals.
Yes.
That was my last question. Thank you.
Anybody else?
And that the good faith effort would be in the language of the bid?
That could be, what I've seen in the past is perhaps the board passes a resolution that they would like to see a good faith effort by all bidders to have reached out to the community. Typically, that's where I see it, and then it's incorporated into the bid documents.
And then one more question. Based on that, so when they, not we, because I'm not doing it, are putting together the actual bid, when they are looking at how many points or however the system is that they assign points to, looking at those good faith efforts could be scored higher if they're doing local hires. Is that how they do that, or not?
Unfortunately, with competitive bidding under the state of California laws, you cannot assign points to it.
Mhm.
It's just a good faith effort that you expect everyone to meet.
Okay, thank you.
But you can't say you get extra 5 points or something like that.
Mhm. Okay.
So, under that circumstance, then the only enforcement would be to not hire them again if they did not live up to the good faith
Correct.
effort.
And just for clarification, PLA is Project Labor Agreement, and CBA is,
Community benefits agreement,
and it's the same thing?
same thing.
Anybody else, any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we go to item B3, A through G Completion Improvement Grant Plan. Presentation on A through G Completion Improvement Grant Plan by Manuel Burciaga, Doctor.
Thank you, Board President Montes, Board of Education, our Superintendent, Dr. Avila, Innovation Team, and all of our community here tonight. My name is Manny Burciaga, and I am the lead academic agent of secondary innovation for our district. And tonight, I will be presenting the A through G Completion Improvement Grant Plan. In July of 2021, Governor Newsom signed off on Assembly Bill 130. Most of us have heard how this education budget trailer bill has impacted independent study, okay, by offering students whose health could be at risk during the pandemic independent study. We have heard about 4-year-olds eligible to enroll in transitional kindergarten by September 2025. We've also heard some monies given in connection with Proposition 98 on multi-tiered systems of support, which we called MTSS. But tonight, the reason I'm here tonight is I am going to present the A through G Completion Improvement Grant that we are eligible to receive because of Assembly Bill 130. So, What is the A through G completion improvement grant? The purpose is to increase the eligibility of A through G for our high school seniors. The funds would be used for activities that directly support student access and successful completion of A through G course requirements. Currently, we are eligible for the access portion of the grant. This means that monies to school districts that have an A through G less than 67% will get this money. We, last year, were at 45%, okay? So Rialto Unified School District is set to receive $2.5 million until the 2025-2026 fiscal year. By then, we're going to need to do a closeout report in 2026 to make sure that we spent this money on A through G improvement. Now, I could not do this presentation justice without going over what is A through G. What are the requirements? Why is it so important for our students? Okay, so we know that the A through G California college requirements are a sequence of high school courses that students must complete with a grade of C or better, okay? Or to be minimally, they have to be C or better to be minimally eligible for the University of California system, UC, four-year school, and the California State University, CSU. Now, we know that some of our students will come to us and say, you know what, I got a D in a math class or English class and I'm ready to graduate. But we, okay, when I say we, our district, we can't be content with them just graduating. They might say, okay, any of this, but we all know that we change our minds, right? So if they change their minds, we want them to be A through G eligible just in case. If they are A through G eligible, then they're set to go. And we just simply want to give them access to our students, okay, and give them the choices and opportunities to achieve their future aspirations. Okay, so the allocation will be based on an equal amount per unduplicated pupils enrolled in grades 9 through 12 as reported by the California Longitudinal Pupil Achievement Data System, which we call CalPADS. Okay, the unduplicated students are English learners, foster McKinney-Vento youth, or our free and reduced students. And according to our LCAP, this last LCAP that we did, 34% of our unduplicated students that are uniquely EL, foster and McKinney-Vento, and are free and reduced. That's 34%. And we know that that formula equals out to be $2.5 million for us to spend until June 2026. Now, the major part of this grant will be placed on professional development. This includes professional development on standard-based grading. I mentioned before that we want our students not to be content with passing A through G classes with a D and just graduate. We want them to pass with a C or better because access and opportunities would be enhanced. We at Rialto Unified believe that equitable grading practices like standard-based grading reduce Ds and Fs. An outcome of this would be a higher A through G eligibility percentage. Now, we have all agreed, when I say we have all agreed, all educational partners have agreed that we need to go slow to go fast. This will be a heavy lift, okay, across the district, and we will be doing so in order to prepare our students to give them as many resources as possible to succeed. That is why we're willing to use this grant to inform, train our staff about standard-based grading, and we are committed to going through this process with all of our educational partners, and they do include our teachers, counselors, parents, and of course our students. Working together will allow us to attain positive results. This grant, okay, will also focus on training our counselors on data collection and developing timely interventions for students to complete A through G. Counselors will learn how to use the transcript evaluation service report, which aids in tracking students who redo a course in which they receive a D or an F. Counselors will also be trained to understand CalPADS, which we just talked about. And we know that CalPADS is a federal and state reporting system that maintains individual level data that includes demographics, course data, discipline assessments, and a lot of other things. And we just want to make sure that our sites and our districts, all that data matches up with what is being reported in CalPADS. The district will invest $200,000 a year to tutor unduplicated students, and we know that this includes English learners, foster youth, McKinney-Vento, free and reduced lunch students. And we will work, education services will work with business services to select a company that has proven success in working with unduplicated students. Okay, we will, in collaboration with the Rialto Education Association, we will add 3 additional working days, and this will be discussed first, obviously, with REA, for all high school counselors with caseloads, so that they can work with students who have not met A through G requirements. So counselors will identify students who are lacking 1, 2, or 3 courses in making A through G. They will identify and place students to retake the course, monitor the students' progress, and record students who have made it through the timely intervention. And in conclusion, okay, we understand that this grants will provide the needed resources to increase our district's A through G, and which is definitely welcomed by every single one of the educational partners here in this community. Thank you. Any questions, guys?
Thank you. It's going in the right direction.
Definitely. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Got a lot of input from the public regarding the grading commentary from last meeting. And they wanted students to do their best and us to support that. They weren't as positive as that, but I appreciate the public input. It was very candid, and no punches were pulled. So,
Yes, we appreciate that input, and that's why we're committed to using this grant in order for all of us to work together. We're committed to this, and I think I know that our students will get the best out of this.
we're on the same page.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
Okay, so last year was at 45%. What is the goal for AG improvement for this year? Do we set a goal?
Excuse me?
What is the goal?
We want to go up. I mean, we're saying usually we aim for 5 to 10% up. We know that the pandemic hurt us with being at home, okay? But we are focused with our counseling teams, with our teachers. We know that not just standard-based grading is going to increase this, but we brought in other, county office of education to go ahead and do the transcript analysis in order to do this. Now, we know that even kids that are allowed to graduate, with 130 credits, that's hurt us, right? But A through G has always been our focus at the secondary level, at our high school level, so.
And Ms. Lewis, if I may, as part of our goals and our LCAP, it is a lofty goal, but we aimed for a 10% increase in A through G for this year.
Okay. What percentage of males have been successful in the A through G program? Because I see a lot of females, but males, and then out of the males, Latino and African American males, are we targeting them with the counselor? And then the last part is, your academic counselor, what is the ratio? 1 counselor to 400 students, or 30, or are we going to cluster that?
Saying about the male students, we do have that data. I don't have it here in front of me, but that has been a focus. We look at, obviously, most of our district, Hispanic, Latino, but we do have been a focus on African American males as well to increase A through G. So it is a target. And when I say this, it's something that we have been speaking with the principals, counseling teams, in order to increase that. I can, give the data to Dr. Avila and share that with you, but we will have that. And then the last question you're asking.
The ratio
of counselors.
for the academic counselor and the tutoring seems to be a little bit low with the percentage of this budget. And, males in general, when you go on a college campus, is very female, especially in those 2 classes. So when they're entering, are we assisting them from junior high to start the path, the journey?
Yes.
So is that more counselor at the junior high level that we
yes,
can utilize?
We're starting off with a 4-year plan. We're using Naviance. I think you guys have approved the use of Naviance for us. And in their 8th grade year, they come up with a 4-year plan then. Should we go earlier? It's a possibility, but Naviance has that 4-year plan for us. And we're trying to, one of the main things that I will say that thanks to you guys, all of the wellness counselors, behavioral strategists that you brought on made our counselors focus on academics, because our counselors do a lot, and bless their heart, they do so much with social emotional learning. But thank you to all of you for bringing those resources for us, because now we can focus a little bit more on.
So do you have like a little ratio?
So real quick, on the data, we were at 45% this year. We dropped because of the 130 credits for graduation. Last year we were at 48% district-wide. For males, we were at 38%. That's kind of the data that you see reflected county-wide. You're also county-wide, I think, you're at 49% overall. And then for males, you're at 39%. So you see a 10% variance. Now, as far as our general counselors, the ratio is 480 per counselor.
Oh. So is there a way we could utilize splitting the case to help them with their journey, or with this funding?
Well, this is a one-time grant, and so it's usually not recommended to hire with one-time monies.
But what we will do is the tutoring that you mentioned, right? A counselor's job is to go ahead and, they have a ton of jobs, but they'll look at their grades and do the timely interventions, right? Like tutoring that they need. And we're going to be working with business services, because we see other districts that are getting tutoring 24/7, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That will help out. And we will offer to our unduplicated students, but obviously every single one of our students, in order to guide them and do the intervention sooner than later.
When are you supposed to start all this?
Okay, so I think we might even have money now. I know that it's coming in, but everything that is starting, and just know for the standard-based grading, is we're going very slow now. Okay, we're not starting next year. We are meeting with our committees, okay, that are represented by each site, okay, teachers. And these committees aren't for us to go ahead and give them professional development per se, but it's the debate, okay? And we are going to go ahead and come up with what PD would be the best for our teachers next year. And so that's starting on March 28th, so soon. And
Could you, hopefully in the near future, give us some kind of timeline?
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff in here.
of course,
But without seeing it in some kind of organized format, it's kind of hard to picture that it will all actually happen.
we plan on sharing with Dr. Avila not only the timeline, but how much money is going to be spent on what, and you guys will adopt that plan.
Okay.
Okay.
So my questions just have to do with the young people already have taken courses, and kind of, have you done the analysis on where kids actually lose the sequence, right? So are they losing it after the first year of foreign language? Are they losing it after the second year of math? Are they, that kind of thing? Have you done that analysis?
Yes, we started off with Rialto High School.
Mhm.
Rialto High School is there. We're scheduled to do that. The next high school is in the spring here pretty soon. And most of the stuff, and I think, we'll say is math, right, is when we probably lose them their sophomore year from what we've seen some of the stuff, but I'm sure you could share other things as well.
So it is our transcript analysis, and we're seeing 3 areas. We're seeing Math 1 freshman year, we're seeing Math 3 junior year, and we're seeing English 9 and 10.
Okay. So just in reference to some of those classes, especially Math 3, are we looking at, because one of the things I know that it's hard for a student if they've gotten a D or F in a course from an instructor, to go back to that same instructor, because at Math 3, generally there's only one instructor teaching a particular course.
You are correct.
That's with foreign language, and those are kind of the trends of what's happening, and for those students who are not being able to be successful with their particular teacher, I'm just not putting anything on, but just to understand what that means for students? And are we looking at that to ensure that those students, especially those ones, the ones who are at most risk for not being A through G completion, complete?
Definitely.
Are we looking at what are we gonna do to ensure that they don't get back into a class
This happens.
that may not have enough support?
And I'll say this
for
as
them.
a experience as a high school principal in AP courses, right? We see the AP pass rates. And unfortunately, we have to have those tough conversations of what's going on. And that's the beauty of dealing with that master schedule year in and year out. We need to do what's best master schedule wise for our students. So if we see that it's continuous failure over and over, there needs to be a change. We understand that. But at the same time, we also need to give those teachers the appropriate resources. Maybe we're not giving enough professional development in that. And so we also need to see that. So we need to do what's best for our students, but we also need to respect the teaching profession. Okay, we've talked about that, so you're right.
And then my last thing is just, and it's not even a question, it's just a statement, to making sure that we're not trying to do the, one size strategy is gonna fit everybody, because if
Right.
we're talking about the increase, it is looking at the margins, who's not there. And thank you, Board Member Lewis, for lifting up those, young people who are not there. Are these strategies gonna target the folks who are not there? Not the same old folks who will get there.
No,
The
yes.
ones who are not there.
That's something that Dr. Avila has instilled early on this year, that we're focusing on our, and I hate to call them subgroups, our student groups, right? In order for them to succeed. And so our principals know, and there's some of them here, we've been at it and looking at goals and redoing goals in order to succeed for some of the data that we are seeing. And this even at the middle school level.
So real quick, I think it's important to lead with the data, with the conversations. Having those transcript analysis are going to empower the principals to have the conversations with those teachers, right, where we're seeing that the kids are not being successful. And then to create those more individualized approaches, those are the additional days for our counselors, so that they do have this extra time. Because some of our counselors are rock stars at doing this work. Some of our counselors are new, right? And they're just going through the process of the transcript analysis and how to appropriately intervene and when to intervene. And so we want to give them a little bit more time to really structure the foundation of that work in the work that they do, so that they understand how to do it. So that's why we're planning on adding those 3 extra days for the next 2 years, so that they can get accustomed to those practices, right? With maybe a little bit more time, they can really do that work of that individual analysis for all kids, not just the kids that are going to make it. So that was the plan behind that 3 extra days.
And back to, I think, what you said, and I know this is one-time money, so we know it's not about hiring somebody that's going to tenure into the district or anything like that. But
And A through G is so important for us, so yeah.
Have you gotten the data on how many kids are not making A through G because of their grades freshman year and sophomore year in particular?
Oh, yes, then that's coming out of the, like she said, that's early on.
Well, I know,
yeah.
because I was principal.
Yeah,
and-
so it gets interesting. It doesn't that happen in college too? Man, that freshman year of college,
Right.
it just comes up. Your freshman year of high schools, it's a little tough, but in the transcript analysis that we're doing, that's coming up, and so it's very important to get our young ones with solid resources, good teachers, making the right adjustments, because we are going to make adjustments. We're reading this data, and if it's not working, guess what? We need to make an adjustment.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty disheartening to, find out in their junior year that they're not going to graduate because they failed, all the way through. And I just wonder about we've talked about this over and over and over again in the district. I don't think we've ever come up with the perfect solution, but somehow they've got to be prepared for high school. They've got to be prepared to earn credits. They've got to know what credits are. They've got to understand they're going to earn that high school diploma. It's not just going to be given to them.
Yes.
And I don't think until we get them into that frame of mind, we're going to see a huge improvement.
And that's why I mentioned Rialto Unified is in a different realm now. When I say that is our graduation numbers are high. But we're not content with that. We want our A through G to go up. Other districts you'll see, oh, graduation is at 70% and they're struggling, right? Ours are in the 90s. But we're not happy with that. We want it to be 100% and our A through G be at 70%, right? Or higher. So I think we're taking the right steps, and thanks to a board like you, we're getting the resources for it.
And Ms. O'Kelly, to address that, I just want to say that we purchased Naviance, and that is providing lessons. We talk about the fact that we want our kids to be A through G, right? We want our kids to be college and career ready. But when do we actually explicitly teach them about it? We don't. We teach them math, science, language arts, but we don't explicitly have lessons for college and career readiness and teaching them the why and the importance of all the work that you're doing in all these classes tied together to your future. So with the purchase of Naviance, there are strategic lessons. There are 7 lessons, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade that they have to go through. And there's a portal that actually records the student access to those lessons. Each site has a different plan for how those lessons are delivered within those grade levels. So that's a huge plus. And then in 8th grade, they build their 4-year plan and they learn more about what the credit system is, right? Now that is, layer number 1, we call it tier 1 intervention, right? It's that education part. But then when they get to high school, the work of the transcript analysis and the intervention should not happen that junior year, should not happen that senior year. It should happen 2nd semester 9th grade, 2nd semester 10th grade. So there's strategic points in time during the time that we enroll students into the next classes that we're having these education sessions. So that's the work that we're working on to educate our counselors on how to do that work. Because just like teachers are never taught how to assess, counselors are never taught to intervene in these kind of ways, right? It's kind of the work of the trade. You learn from other great counselors and other great people that are doing the work. And so we're trying to bring that work in and trying to build the capacity of our staff.
And the last thing I'll mention without getting long-winded, at the high school level, we're seeing what's going on with SAT, right? It's going away, right? That's what we hear, right? Which makes grades that much more important, at least right off the bat. AP class is that much more important. If the SAT is not going to be one of the things that gets you into college, these kids are going to need to get better grades, right? And so we're seeing that now. We're having conversations now with our counselors. So like I said, Rialto is at the forefront of all this. So thank you.
Questions? When you're done, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, the SAT is not going away. So I would just want to be very clear. UC and CSU is only 1-2 systems in the United States. It is not going away. It is not going away for highly competitive programming.
Right.
So I don't want us to think that, I don't want us to lead with that in our district, because we won't be getting kids into the engineering schools. We won't be getting them into the nursing schools. We won't be getting into to really understand that, right?
And
It's
that's-
for
and
basic
that-
admissions only, not for,
Yeah, and that's where A through G
Yes.
comes in, so we can get.
but
that's, Yeah.
the testing is for the placement to get those access. I just want us to be to watch that, because they're still requiring that for impacted majors.
Okay, I know that I've burned up your emails with information. I've sent you things on math, a different way of teaching from, probably 2010 it was devised, the new textbook, looking at the life sciences instead of the math for those who aren't math-brained. And are you looking at that, or is it too late for next year, or where are you in your workload on that?
I'm looking at replacing math with the sciences. That's what you're asking?
A way of teaching math.
A way of teaching math.
Relating it instead of to the math tradition of calculus.
Right.
Looking at Algebra 1 through calculus and relating it to life science.
Yes, I mean, we are talking about it. I don't think it's ever too late to do that, and we do read your emails, and I don't think we don't. You're right, we do that. We're even looking at, it's coding and a lot of the different ways of seeing math. So we do talk, and Dr. D'Souza has been meeting with us about this sort of exact same thing and guiding us, so yes.
And I do apologize for burning up your emails.
No,
but-
no, it's fine. It's a lot of information that we need to see.
No,
Yes.
we appreciate it. We
Yeah.
actually shifted statistics to a new course called data science. And I believe that was approved last year or at the beginning of this year. The years are running together for me now, but we did move into data science versus just plain statistics. And teachers are PLCing, and that is definitely affecting the way other teachers are teaching.
Okay, good, thank you. And how are our students that are doing well doing in college? Because my mindset has been for at least 5 of the 13 years, 14 years I've been here, looking at K through 18 and now K through 20. So are we doing follow-up at all? I mean, it's available on Ed Data and looked at the other one today and I can't remember the name.
National
The
Clearinghouse.
clearinghouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that one, but this
Yes.
is another California one.
Yeah, the National Clearinghouse, that's what we have looked at, and so we do see that. It just has been a little bit different because of the pandemic and these kids going into college, and even them, they haven't been in person. So it's time. Now that everybody's in person, it's time to get reacquainted with that data and look at it.
Okay. The final thing, merit. What you're really talking about is students realizing that their grade is tied to effort. And that should be taught 5th grade, 4th grade. And we need to start doing that. Opinion, and please take it to heart. Mr. President, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Great presentation.
And thank you, Dr. Burciaga. I'm going to go ahead and let you hit the hay before we keep you here for another hour.
It's okay.
But I think it's just, this is important to everybody here at the district and here on the board. So thank you, Dr. Chavez, for answering our questions. And feel free to give us another presentation down the road so we can grill you guys again with some more questions. But thank you.
I
Good
appreciate it.
presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you did good.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, that takes us to public comment. And just as a reminder, friendly reminder, the board has asked me as chair to please try to limit all public comment, those on the agenda, comments not on the agenda, and public comments from association executive board members. All public comments, please be mindful of the board meeting and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And then we do have a board policy for multiple speakers of a 20-minute cap on any one particular subject. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to item C1, public comments not on the agenda.
Yes, we have Evelyn Dominguez.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Dominguez.
Could you move the microphone down a little bit?
There. My name is Evelyn Dominguez, and I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Avila for spending time with the Boyd students this past Monday. I would also like to thank him for stepping in supporting the community with the issues that we were experiencing at Boyd. While we are still working through the issues, we know that with his great leadership, we will get the support and answers that our students and staff deserve. However, we are deeply concerned how the things have escalated so quickly with the new administrator, but also grateful and thankful that we have a board like you guys and a superintendent who is willing to help make change and provide resources to our students to our students' needs. We are looking forward to working, meeting, and collaborating together to help fix all of these problems. Okay. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Tobin Brinker.
Thank you. Tobin Brinker, teacher at Frisbee Middle School, speaking on my own behalf. My comments tonight, I think, fit perfectly after your A through G presentation and your conversations. First off, I want to say thank you for listening to me last board meeting when I spoke 2 weeks ago. Specifically, thank you to Mrs. O'Kelly and Mr. Montez, because you both addressed the issue in your comments. And talking about the issue of this sort of top-down push for standards-based grading. And in your own way, each of you asked that it be put on pause. So I'm here to ask tonight, what does that look like to put it on pause? So as a starting point, I think it would mean that as we enter the fourth quarter, which starts next week at the secondary level, the teachers would be given full control over their gradebooks again. That means removing disabling the feature that automatically turns zeros into 50%. Let the individual teachers choose how to grade and do the hard work then of convincing those teachers that 50% is the right way to do it, but show respect to their professional judgment on how to grade their students. That's how you begin the process. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned how students are passed on from grade level to grade level with straight Fs. That's the real problem. That's the Titanic sinking. Moving the grades to 50%, that's moving the deck chairs around on the Titanic. The 50% rule is not a cure for that problem. In fact, some would argue that giving kids 50% for an assignment where zero work was done and then passing that student on to the next grade with straight Fs teaches that kid that grades actually don't matter at all, which is, I was just listening to you talk about how important it is to teach them to be responsible and understand the importance of those grades. The district's argument is that 50% is still an F, and that it makes it easier for a child who's struggling to recover and improve their grades. I buy into that argument. I use the 50%. But the district described it as a motivational tool, and some teachers actually see it as the opposite, as a demotivational tool. And so I went to my colleagues, and here's what they said. They said kids learn that they can skip assignments without hurting their grades too much, and it actually makes them more apathetic. They also pointed out that when a kid keeps retaking a test or redoing an assignment and they cannot get over 50% correct, they don't see any improvement in their grade. Whereas in the old system where they got the zero and now they've got a 40%, they at least saw their grade go up. So you're denying them the opportunity to see their growth. They're just doing it over and over again and not getting there. And that will cause them to stop trying. Our top scholars, our honors students, our AP students, see it as an unfair gift to kids that are slackers. And the outside world, I'm just going to be blunt here, sees this as a bunch of administrators trying to inflate grades to make the district look better than it actually is. Now, my final comment to you is that I heard that the district has created a committee with teachers to look into this, and the committee is going to meet on Monday. I was not asked to be a part of that committee. I'm asking tonight that you include me. I came here back in October to begin talking about these issues. I think I deserve to be at the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Michael Montano.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see here. So I'm here tonight to kind of, again, quote from this, share with you some quotes from this book as I've been doing some further reading. Again, the book titled When School Policies Backfire, How Well-Intended Measures Can Harm Our Most Vulnerable Students. So in this book, some of the research shows that findings underscore the importance of studying policy implementation to fully understand differences in school contexts when deploying district-wide policies across multiple settings. Research emphasizes that district policies may operate differently at the school level. In other words, works out different in practice than in theory. Goes on to say, the development of responsive policies at the district level that were applied across schools was in its infancy, and such oversights led to hard lessons learned. To which I add, remember those students' transcripts I shared with you a few weeks ago. A hard lesson if we learned from them. In addition, it is possible that poor deployment by way of imperfect information or guidance exacerbate the negative impacts. So rolling things out before they're ready to. Here are some lessons learned that are shared within the book. First, know your audience, to which I ask, who knows our students best? Second, the devil is in the details when it comes to implementation. Failure to consider who will be impacted and whether that impact may be differential by salient and observable characteristics is a design flaw and may be avoided if all available data are leveraged in the planning process. Third, document the implementation. Fourth, evaluate, and reevaluate. Lastly, we cannot fully understand how something affects outcomes if we haven't planned in advance for how we will evaluate those effects. The how we know what we did is working. A key element missing from the presentation on standard-based grading during the last board meeting was not shared how we were going to know how that was going to be evaluated. We need to do better on how we roll things out. Maybe we need to learn from other districts or businesses that really have a handle on how to roll things out successfully. Again, let's stop putting planes in the air until they are built. As Ms. O'Kelly mentioned in the last meeting, Rialto Unified has had a long history of rolling things out before they're ready to be rolled out. So again, it's better to go slow, as mentioned in the last presentation, and then move fast. Thank you.
That's all we have. Items not on the agenda.
Next, we go to items on the agenda.
Michael Montano.
Welcome back.
Hello again. Okay, so again, I'm going to speak on the A through G, very closely related to the presentation we just saw. I'm going to start with a quote. "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." A famous quote of wisdom by George Santayana, who also said, "Fanaticism consists of redoubling your efforts when you have forgotten your aim." Too much attention is being placed on A through G, a gauge on the California dashboard. The perception of many teachers is that the district only cares about how we look on the dashboard and not actually about student learning. We focus on college readiness, a gauge on the dashboard, but not the percentage of our students being accepted to colleges. Trade schools and community colleges don't give a darn about A through G. A through G ultimately only applies to students going directly to a California four-year university. So we're talking less than 25% of our students. We need to focus on 100% of our students. Because too much emphasis is misplaced focus on A through G, we have counselors at our high schools being directed from the district to lie to our students in telling them in order to graduate, they have to retake courses they receive a F or D in. Why are we lying to our students? Because of this A through G fanaticism, our counselors are being directed to act as gatekeepers, telling our students they cannot take a first-year elective their senior year, such as auto shop or culinary, because there isn't time to finish the pathway starting their senior year. That's just asinine. Countless invaluable bonding moments throughout the decades have occurred between parent and child under the hood of a car or in the kitchen. Father to son, father to daughter, or mother to son. Learning to cook, learning to change the oil, learning to change a flat tire, learning to check the fluid levels. These are skills and knowledge we are keeping from our students, and maybe keeping those too few bonding moments between parent and child that are remembered and cherished for a lifetime. We as a district are too focused on those dashboard gauges online instead of the gauges behind the desks in the classrooms, our students. There is no way to know what one class may change a student's life in ways we can't foresee. A store manager or a business owner. Let's refocus. Go back to making decisions in the best interest of our students instead of what's going to make us look better on the California dashboard, such as A through G. Thank you.
Dave Everett.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys giving me the time here. I'm here to testify on the project labor agreement. My name's Dave Everett, and I'm testifying today on behalf of the Coalition for Fair Employment in Construction. Tonight, the Rialto Unified School District's planning on passing a special interest deal for their political donors on almost all future construction in the district. It's going to increase the cost 13 to 15%, as you heard. It's also going to you heard that most of your contractors from the Inland Empire are non-union. You also heard that your goal for the PLA is 30%, but right now you're currently getting over 60% local hires, so kind of takes away the incentive there. One thing I want to really stress is that though they increased prices 15%, you guys have already been through this. You had a PLA at Rialto Unified District and then dropped it. And so I would ask the council and staff to pull up why Rialto dropped their PLA in the past, and I think you'll find the data shows that it increased cost and it decreased bids. I'd also request that Rialto USD hold some kind of debate or study session on the topic so both sides can be heard. These special interest deals, known as project labor agreements, they're so controversial that they've been banned in over half the United States, and I'll give you guys a map of that as well. And worse yet, these special interest deals would hurt minority contractors and cause union workers to lose their power to strike. That's why the Black Contractors of America are against project labor agreements. BCA is the only black apprenticeship program in America. As documented by Forbes magazine, minority contractors say PLA agreements perpetuate the discrimination that has long pervaded construction unions. In an affidavit submitted in court, Harry Alford, the president of the National Black Chamber of Commerce, said that about 98% of black and Latino-owned construction companies are non-union. Let me repeat that. 98% of black and Latino-owned construction companies are non-union. And this PLA restricts the use of minority contractors on these public projects. Claims that a PLA can be a tool to ensure minority construction workers and businesses are used on a project is a farce, says Alford. Government-mandated PLAs are opposed by the National Black Chamber of Commerce because almost all minority-owned contracting firms are not affiliated with unions. African-American-owned contracting firms are typically small businesses and employ their own core workforce of skilled construction workers who are not unionized and are generally more diverse than the construction workers coming from the union hiring halls. Please oppose this wasteful, discriminatory PLA. 86% of construction workers are non-union. You're already getting 60% local hire. Your goal is 30% local hire. That is going backwards. Please call my cell phone or email me. I'll leave my information here and I'll submit my comments for the record, as well as a handout here from the minority community, from the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and one showing the map of how over half of the country has banned these discriminatory project labor agreements. Thanks so much, appreciate it.
Which item are you referring to, sir?
The project labor agreement?
That was not for approval, that's just a presentation.
Right.
But thank you.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure from our side of the view, for, you know.
Yeah, we're not approving a PLA tonight. It was just a presentation on PLAs. But thank you for the information, though.
Great, I appreciate that. I'm very happy to
Feel
hear
free
you're
to
not
send us
approving
any
that.
more additional information you'd like.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that.
Thanks. Thank you.
Callie Peterson.
Good evening. Thank you very much, President, Vice President, Clerk, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of the Associated Builders and Contractors. I have a copy of the letter that I'll be reading, if I can hand it out.
And just for clarification, the PLA was just a presentation.
Correct.
It was not approved.
Correct. All right, so regarding item B2, the Associated Builders and Contractors are in opposition to project labor agreements. Please do not shut out local workers. On behalf of the Associated Builders and Contractors and the workers and apprentices that we train, I'm writing regarding item B2 regarding the PLA agreement discussion. PLAs discriminate against 83% California construction workforce that are non-union. PLAs keep local, non-union contractors from working on local projects. Because of this discrimination, many non-union companies do not bid on projects with PLAs. This leads to less competition and higher prices for the taxpayers. In fact, many studies have shown that PLAs raise the cost on projects from anywhere between 13 and 18%. Furthermore, the apprentices that we train are specifically prohibited from working on these jobs. The agreement calls for apprentices from joint programs. Our program is referred to as unilateral programs. Many of the apprentices are local and would be shut out from working on these projects. This means that PLAs prevent them from earning the required on-the-job training hours. This is a discrimination for our apprentices. Bottom line, PLAs increase costs, prevent local non-union companies from bidding on projects, and reduce competition. You can learn more, as is included on the letter, at thetruthaboutplas.com. We strongly urge your board to reject the use of PLAs on future projects. Thank you.
Do we have any more, Dr. Avila?
That is all we have.
All right, that takes us to comments from association executive board members. We'll begin with Rialto Education Association, REA.
Good evening, President Montez and the school board and our student board member. Hello, Dr. Avila and the innovation team and the viewing audience. My name is Maisha Calloway and I'm the president of REA, our wonderful teachers union. I just wanted to say to the school board, I really appreciate you guys taking the time last meeting to really listen to REA's opinions and concerns about the grading policies. The teachers are the stakeholders and they really appreciate you guys giving your comments and agreeing that maybe we should slow down with this and take our time to go over everything. So I just wanted to say thank you once again for that. We really appreciate it. We also look forward to our REA grading committee working with the district to fully understand the why and the philosophy behind these new policies. By taking the time, we will be able to see if this will truly help or hinder our students, and then we can properly move forward. So, over 100 times, we just really appreciate you guys listening and helping us slow down this whole new policy. I just wanted to say, I love how you guys did bring up about the counselors and the heavy caseload after we looked at the presentation. So keep that in mind, and that's all I'll say about that. The recommendation for counselors' caseload is approximately 290 students. So as you can see, we're kind of up there in this district. So just remember that thought for later on down the road. The other thing I wanted to say is I hope all of our unit members, REA, and everyone else had an enjoyable spring break and they enjoyed the time off. And that's it. Everyone have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we go to California School Employees Association, CSEA.
Good evening, Rialto Unified Family. I'm Chris Cordasco, Chapter 203 President. Tonight, all I really want to talk about is the mask mandate change. Many CSEA chapters across the state were fighting to keep the mandates in place. I've been an advocate for freedom of choice for our members, for our staff, and I appreciate the district giving us that choice so far. Just want to ask that we before we spread the message, or can we spread the message to administrators to, before we make any changes, to have conversation with their staff as to what makes them feel comfortable? I know lots of sites, some of the plexiglass has started to come down. And before we direct maintenance to remove that plexiglass, that we ask the staff that it affects, how they feel about it, and are they okay with that? There are some staff that still are high risk. The disease is not gone by any means, and we still need to continue to be careful. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we go to Communication Workers of America, CWA. They're not on, was that a knock? Okay. Next, we go to Rialto School Managers Association, RSMA. All right, that takes us to C4, comments from student board member, our very own Mr. Julian Hunter.
I'm gonna keep my comments kind of short this time. And I just wanted to, I guess, congratulate everyone who works in the district for making it to a third quarter of this year. I mean, this year, I can't imagine how it is from the staff's perspective. I mean, even as a student, it kind of feels like walking in the dark. So, I just want to congratulate everybody for making it this far, and hopefully we can make it another quarter, and from then on, just keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Thank you. We appreciate it. Next, we'll go to ladies first, and how about we go to Miss Dina Walker?
No comment.
And-
Superintendent.
Oh. How could I forget our superintendent? Dr. Avila, please.
Thank you, President Montes. And yes, I did have a lot of fun Monday. I was invited to travel with the first grade class from Boyd Elementary to the Huntington Gardens. It was an amazing experience, and unfortunately the kids had to keep me in check with all the rules and everything that was expected of them. So they called me on it, but I had a great time being with them. The other is visiting schools this week is just such a sight to see folks back at the sites, with or without the mask, but especially the smiles and the joy on the faces of the adults, and especially the students. So it's a great pleasure to visit schools and just seeing their smiles throughout the day. The other, this is not in response to any public comments. This is more in response to one of the presentations on A through G and how the grading may factor into that. Know that the world has changed, and we too in education are changing, maybe not as quickly as the world around us is, but we know that many institutions years ago set up systems to really screen out folks from joining those institutions, especially academic institutions, where they set very clear expectations that really left very little chance to certain communities across the country to even access, and that has changed over time, where access to universities, access to programs, be it credentialing programs, administrative programs, those too have changed. I recall back in the days when it was, many found it very difficult to pass the CBEST test. They had gone through the coursework to receive their credentials, but they struggled, many struggled to pass the CBEST, and therefore they could not obtain the teaching credential. Well, the testing changed because back in the days, at least when I took it, and I don't remember when it changed, but you had to take the entire test, the 3 different parts of the test in one setting, and it was timed. And for some, they struggle with the timing of it and would have to retake the entire test again, where after some adjustments were made, you were allowed to take one section at a time. And with that, of course, many people were successful. And in the end, what I saw is a lot of teachers colleagues when I was a teacher, who were amazing teachers, but who had struggled with the actual test. Had changes not been made, they probably would not have found themselves in the profession impacting the lives of kids the way that they did over the years. And even well, I'll leave it there because this was in response to just that. So again, I know that there are many components to this, and we are going to slow down to address each component, but change has to happen. And how that will look, I don't know. The committee has to be the one that makes that decision, but we have to give our students the opportunity to succeed in different ways, because while all of them 100% may not go to college and therefore may not need that A through G, not giving them that opportunity is not okay on behalf of the district. Maybe they will change their mind, but even if they don't change their mind, taking them through the coursework to be more sound and more prepared to take on any career, be it college requirement or not, I think it's going to benefit them and it's going to benefit the greater community. So I just wanted to reinforce that is not, that we should not remain in place with the grading system that's been in place for over 100 years while the rest of the world changes around us. The other, I do want to thank, or congratulate rather, Rialto High School, Carter High School, Frisbee Middle School's MESA programs as they competed over the past couple of weeks at the University of California, Riverside. And many are now advancing to the regional competition that will be held at the University of California, Irvine. Our first place winners include from Carter High School, Andrew Lee, Brian Ortega, Alan Lee, and Cristobal Vasquez. Also, locally, a Mesa crime scene investigation competition was held at Carter High School. First place winners there were Alana Gutierrez and Carla Fuentes. Both of these students are also placed at the Mesa competition. From Rialto High School, first place winners, Melanie Luna, Steven Diaz, Isaac Lima, Javier Santiago, Alex Hernandez, Gilberto Beltran, Brandon Aldana, Natalie Iraeta, Dalia Cabrera, Georgette Salazar, Giovanni Felix, Jasbeth Perez, and Alisa Pivek. And from Frisbee Middle School, our first place winners were Kevin Villalobos and Dominique Ramirez. So congratulations to all of the Carter staff, the coaches, the advisors from Carter, Ms. Catherine Sanchez, from Rialto High School, Mr. Michael Thompson, and from Frisbee Middle School, Mr. David Nia Berger. Good luck at the Southern California competition. Rialto Unified School District Nutrition Services earned the coveted Gold Award from the USDA Food and Nutrition Services. Turnip the Beat Award for Summer 2021. The award recognizes summer food service programs and the National School Lunch Program Seamless Summer Option SSO that go above and beyond program requirements to serve high-quality meals to children during the summer months. Rialto USD was the only district in California selected in any category. We continue to be proud of our RUSD Nutrition Services staff and the hard work that they do for our students, and the cafeteria staff and the hard work that they do for all of our students. And speaking of academic achievements for success, students congratulations to the staff and the students at Cole Middle School, led by Principal Armando Urtiaga. The Cole Cougars were published in an education book titled Schools on the Move, Leading for Equity Growth. With the support of Innovate Ed, the article highlighted how Cole Middle Schools has excelled within the last 4 years in the areas addressing the needs of English learners, African American students, and special education students, which helped the school exit the improvement CSI State Watch list. Thank you, Cole Middle School, for embracing the strategic process to keep our focus in the classroom on instruction and on the social emotional needs of students. That is all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Avila, and I do apologize for skipping you. Ms. Walker said she was good. We'll go next to our very own board clerk, Ms. Nancy O'Kelly.
Well, I'd just like to say that we've had some good presentations tonight and learned a lot, and I would like to say I'm very happy with the direction the district is taking regarding the grading and everything else, because I firmly have always believed you don't implement anything without the people who are going to be using it being the biggest part of the decision. They have to see it, feel it, and approve it. So I think we're on the right track, and I think the committee is going to do a good job, and we will hopefully beyond to bigger and better things. And I'd like to congratulate everyone for winning awards. We have some outstanding science students and nutrition services. I mean, what can I say? They just rock. We all know that. They're wonderful, and we appreciate them. And I personally am really enjoying the weather we've had the last few days. So, and that's all.
Thank you, Ms. O'Kelly. Next, we go to our Vice President, Ms. Stephanie Lewis.
Yes, Julian, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to hear from you, your student, about the grading. Because we're hearing from the teachers, we're hearing from administrator, but as a student, do you have any?
On the 50% policy?
Yes.
My personal opinion on it is I do think it's a good idea to help, it's easier to, like, I guess, recover from that. But I do feel as there are, hate to say it, but there are some students who truly just, like, don't want to do it. And I'm not saying we should just kind of leave those ones aside, but I think, I don't want to put more work on the teachers, but we should, like, have a conversation with them and ask really, like, if this is really something they want to do, I guess, and see if, because I guess, I personally don't think it's fair that if one student is going through circumstances that, they sometimes maybe can't get an assignment or something's going on at home, and that the 50% system really helps, is, kind of on the same level as a student who just doesn't want to do it, kind of thing. So that's my take on it, but, I mean, what we have so far, I think, is helping so far.
Thank you. It's, sometimes we leave the student out of the debate, and so I really challenge all the students to come to the board to give us your feedback. We want to hear from the students, and thank you for your honest opinion. So I went out to see the smiling faces too. I was out at Garcia, and it was really nice to see the school and meet Principal Rodriguez, and to meet with actually my neighbor. She is Miss Jill. She teaches kindergarten, and so Rodriguez, said, "Let me show you this unique classroom," and they have this new setup. I'm like, "Hey, neighbor!" And so it was just nice to just hear about the innovative, just the happiness, the transition from the spring break and the mask off, and the kids who choose to wear the mask, and that it was just fun. I think, I have my butterflies on because we're out of the cocoon, and so we're butterfly with spring, and it's been a great journey that we're going, and the work is still hard, but I think we're doing it with kindness and consideration. So I applaud the pause button and to come together to bring everyone aboard. You can have this idea, but to wait and bring people on board and hear the discussion, I applaud administration for taking that step. There's other situations where they'll just keep going, and they will lose, the team. So thank you very much, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Next, we go to Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, President Montez. I keep wondering, how do we turn a student's aha light on? Let me run something by you, Mr. Hunter. If we had a class, not where they actually experienced it firsthand, but maybe a film, where, okay, you get a C grade. These are the kind of jobs that you can expect to get. You don't care about your grades. These are the kind of jobs you can expect to get. And if you excel, this is what your future looks like. Do you think that might impact students at all?
I definitely think it will, because I have seen that a lot of times, sometimes you kind of just need to be real with them and let them know, like, okay, the route you're taking right now, this is where you're going to get. Now, if you're content with that, that's fine, but I just letting them know this is where this will get you will definitely help. It's helped me, when people are just like straight up like, this what you're doing right now is going to take you here kind of thing. So, yeah, I think it'll definitely help if we did try something like that.
Okay, but always thinking. And nothing would impact me at age 12, 14 to know that I'd be digging a hole somewhere in the summer or the winter, versus them seeing maybe somebody in a clean computer room and what it takes to get to each. So, Dr. Avila, if you'd consider that and just toss the idea around, maybe first day of school or something, or even if it's just out on YouTube to help every student in the Inland Empire and who knows how far. I know we've got the team to put it together.
No, and we can absolutely do that. And keep in mind, this, at least the way I understand it, is not giving students something that they don't deserve. It's simply approaching the matter differently and to give them that opportunity. And it doesn't mean that kids have no responsibility in this either. I mean, I firmly believe that they do have a lot of responsibility in it, but we have an equal amount of responsibility to shape the conditions, the resources for them to access and to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because I learned in my 14 years here that we can provide everything for them, top notch, but if they don't have any desire, they're going to not succeed. But anyway, you know that I'm for merit and all that, because those who are capable of doing well should. And that even includes the students who try to dumb down so they can be part of the crowd. Don't do that to yourself. You're cutting yourself short. And last comment is thank you to all the staff and community holding our feet to the fire. It's been a while since I've thanked everyone for that. And then the very last one is to all of our staff members who are not on the front line. You don't get seen, you don't get noticed, but we see you. We know you're there. We know you're working hard. You may be on a roof. You may be back in the kitchen. You may be working on grounds. You may be the custodian. You may be a teaching assistant. That doesn't mean you're not noticed, and that doesn't mean you're not appreciated. So I want to make sure that you knew this board sees you and appreciates you. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. And I really don't have a whole lot. I just want to comment that I'm glad that the district leadership and the teachers have found a way to come together and open up dialogue and listen to each other in regards to some of the new policies that are looking to get implemented, some of the new strategies that that the district leadership would like to roll out. I understand training, I understand timing, I understand. I think one of the biggest things is me personally, I think the theory is great. But how does that look like when it's put into practice? As a big boxing fan, I'll always remember the words of Mike Tyson when they said, "What's your plan? What's your plan for the fight?" And Mike Tyson would say, "Everybody's got a plan going into a fight until they get punched in the face." The plan moving forward. What I think people got to understand. I think students, parents, everybody wants to understand better what it looks like. I think if students can buy into looking at different grading strategies, if teachers can look into looking at different grading strategies, if everyone can come together and just understand it better, I think time will tell. If teachers that once they understand exactly how the policy could work, they themselves will say, hey, this can work or it won't. Them themselves, the same thing with the parents, same thing with the students. If the students take a look at it, if somebody takes the time to explain it to them, hey, look, we're considering changing this grading style to this form, the students will understand it. They themselves will do they'll look at it and say, hey, you know what, this sounds like a good idea, it sounds like a good plan. But I think just more information needs to be given, more dialogue, more discussion needs to be had with the different stakeholders, and time will tell if, hey, let's try it out. It sounds great. Let's give it a shot. It's working out. Everybody's happy with it, or it might not. But I applaud those who are taking the initiative to manifest it, to try it, to try to do something different, to think outside the box, to not just stay comfortable with one way of doing things that maybe has been done for too long and might need to change a little bit. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I'm definitely glad that dialogue and discussion will be had with the committee, and the board is here to listen to everybody's concerns, including the students and the parents. And I definitely think that students and parents should also take part at one point or another, even if it's not with this committee of teachers and administrators, but definitely at one point or another, students and parents need to be explained, the idea of this strategy and get their feedback. If they say, hey, you know what, this sounds great, or they might say, hey, you know what, we don't like it. We don't know, but I definitely think we should get their input as well, and get everybody on board. With that said, let's get this show on the road. Item D, public hearing. D1, open public hearing. Any person wishing to speak on the item on the public hearing agenda will be granted 3 minutes. And before I get a motion and a second, the public hearing is in regard to item D 1.1, the 2022-2023 proposal to Rialto Education Association, REA. Public hearing pursuant to the requirements of government code and board policy, the attached initial contract proposal for the 2022-2023 school year submitted by the Rialto Unified School District for an agreement between the Rialto Unified School District Board of Education and the Rialto Education Association is hereby posted in compliance with the legislative requirements for public notice. Do we have a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, vote by board members. Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The time is 8:48. Dr. Avila, do we have anybody wishing to speak on the public hearing?
We do not.
Okay. Do we have a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
And that's item D2. Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly? Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. The time is 8:48. Item E, consent calendar items. All items on the consent calendar will be acted upon in one motion unless pulled by the Board of Education members or the superintendent for individual action. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Vote by board members to approve consent calendar items. Preferential vote by student board member Julian Hunter.
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms.
Aye.
O'Kelly, Ms. Lewis,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So that takes us to discussion action items. F1, agreement with PF Vision Inc. to provide inspection services for the Special Education Services renovation project.
Move to approve.
Second.
And that's effective March 24th, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $84,000 and to be paid by Fund 40, Special Reserve for Capital Outlay Projects. Questions or comments? Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Next, we go to F2, agreement with Think Together, Inc. to provide after-school education and safety program.
Motion to approve?
Second.
And the item is to approve the amendment number 1 with Think Together, Inc., in a nonprofit corporation for the purpose of providing the after-school education and safety program for from the amount of $3,163,248.62 to $3,711,559.04. The term of the contract will remain the same, effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, with an increased cost not to exceed $548,310.42 for a total overall cost of $3,711,559.04, and to be paid from the general fund after-school education safety grant. Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Comment?
Okay.
Think Together family staff, thank you for taking care of our babies. And aye.
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Next, we go to F3, agreement with Think Together, Inc., after-school and enrichment for teens programs.
Move to approve.
Second.
And it's an amend the agreement, it's to amend the agreement to provide the 21st Century Community Learning Center after-school safety and enrichment for teens program services at Eisenhower High School for the current fiscal year. Other terms of the agreement will remain the same, effective July 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022, with an increased cost not to exceed $241,775 for an overall total of $1,429,275 to be paid from the general fund, 21st Century Community Learning Center After School Safety and Enrichment for Teens program. Questions or comments? Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms.
Aye.
O'Kelly? Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Next, we go to F4, liability claim 21-22-08, rejection. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And that's to deny liability claim number 212208. Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Next, we go to F5, liability claim number 21-22-10, rejection. It's to deny the liability claim I just read. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Next, we go to F6, stipulated expulsion, case number 212238. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Walker, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Lewis?
Aye.
And myself, aye. All right, that brings us to item G, adjournment. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Rialto Unified School District will be held on April 6, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Dr. John Casalunas Education Center, 182 East Walnut Avenue, Rialto, California. Materials distributed or presented to the Board of Education at the board meetings are available upon request from the superintendent's office. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a second? Okay. Preferential vote by student board member Julian Hunter.
Aye.
Are you sure you want to adjourn this meeting? Ms. Walker?
I'm like, I'm perfectly voting him. Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. O'Kelly?
And
Ms.
mine was
Lewis?
aye, by the way.
Aye.
Oh, no, okay, Mr. Martinez. And myself, aye. The time is 8:54.